Hi, I'm Mindie Burgoyne and this is a Haunted Minute. I'm in Easton today, standing at the crossroads of Dover and Harrison Street. And what you see behind me is the Avalon Theater, a very haunted site. In fact, it's the second site on our Ghost Walk of Easton. Catty corner across from the Tidewater Inn, which is behind me here, another famous haunted site. But back to the Avalon. The Avalon was built in 1921, and it was a very popular place for tourists to go, and it was a reason to come into town. Easton's always been kind of the cultural hub of the Eastern Shore. The Avalon fell into disrepair, and a few years back, a local businessman purchased the building and renovated it, and it's now run by a private foundation, and it's still a very active theater. But the businessman who purchased it told me a story about when he and a colleague were in the theater. The theater was closed. I think they were doing inventory, and he was upstairs, she was downstairs. He came down the stairs while his colleague went from Banning's, which you see right there, the tavern, into the lobby. They both came into the lobby as they heard the elevator descending to the first floor. And knowing no one was in the building, that really struck them as odd. When the elevator hit the first floor, it dinged, doors opened, and out walked a woman in a long white dress. They both saw her. She looked at them, then she turned around, and she vanished through the double doors without opening the double doors into the theater. Naturally, they ran and they looked in the theater, and she was nowhere to be found. And this businessman, along with many others, believed this woman is a lady named Marguerite. She was an actress who was here at the Avalon with a bunch of other vaudeville-type actresses, and she was murdered, or she was at least found dead in the elevator. There's a picture taken at the old Hotel Avon, which was across the street, of Marguerite and a group of other women. At least they believe she's Marguerite, and it hangs right in the lobby. People who have seen her will identify that woman in the picture and say, that's who we saw. So it's an actress that haunts the Avalon. There's many other things that have happened. Most of the people that work in the Avalon will tell you this elevator has a mind of its own. Now, the owner even said, you know, I had an elevator service people come in and see if there was any programming or something that made this elevator run all hours of the night and day with no one on it. And they did check it out and said there was nothing. Sometimes elevators are programmed in extreme heat, like fire, to immediately go to the first floor, open, and then cease to be operational. And that may be what it is. Maybe there's some electromagnetic field making that happen. But it certainly does operate on its own. There's been cold spots in the projection room that people have felt. All kinds of little nuisance instances have happened at the theater to people that work there. But probably the best story was also told by this businessman, and he talked about a barmaid that he had that worked at a bar on the upper floor. She came in to prepare the bar for her working at it that night, and she left. She left all her stuff, she didn't get her pay, and she didn't even call and say why she was gone. And so he called her, and she said, well, I know you're not going to believe this, but while I was setting up the bar, a knife on the counter suspended itself in midair and threw itself across the room. And he said, well, let's at least talk about it. Come on back. And she said, never. He said, I've got to pay you. You left your stuff. She said, keep it. Now, since then, I've also heard stories of people that have had films cut up in the projection room and strange experiences on the basement or the lower floor where the restrooms are. So if you're in the Avalon Theater, you can take a look and see that picture, ask them to point it out to you, ask them to point out Marguerite. If you like traveling to places that are haunted, join our Ghost Walk in Easton. The Avalon's on it, as well as the Tidewater and many other properties. But it's nice that this is a public place because you can have a look at it on the inside, and you can even go and see one of their terrific shows. So check out the Avalon Theater, Easton, Maryland.